A young woman seated at the virginals, for years considered a pastiche of Johannes Vermeer. Will scientific study offer proof it is the work of the Dutch genius? And will the art establishment accept the findings? And what price will be paid for the first Vermeer to come to auction in nearly 100 years?
The next step after we had got this technical information that showed that the picture was absolutely consistent with Vermeer technically was to make some more face-to-face comparisons with other paintings. So we took it to New York and looked at the pictures in the Metropolitan Museum and elsewhere. Those comparisons were again quite impressive, to the extent that Walter Liedtke from the Metropolitan Museum suggested that Baron Rollin might like to lend the picture to his forthcoming exhibition, Vermeer and the Delft School, so that it could hang there together with the other latish Vermeer paintings, so that people could really see them together and discuss what the likelihood was that this was a genuine picture by Vermeer.
It was hung, I think, almost as an afterthought in the very last room, and I think, unfortunately for it, it was hung in the same room as the painter's studio painting, The Art of Painting, which is a large Vermeer, very mature, very, very confident. And this one was sort of put off to the side, and it's very small.
There was a forum as part of the exhibition in New York, where a whole lot of scholars, Dutch and international scholars on Vermeer came together, and we did present the findings there briefly, but Vermeer arouses such passions that it was difficult to discuss it objectively.
There were some who were saying at the Scholars' Discussion Day that it was outrageous that this thing should be hanging in the exhibition. There were others, of course, who were saying that it was a wonderful opportunity for study and discussion. But there was absolutely no consensus.
But it is difficult for Vermeer scholars who have based their findings for years on simply looking at the surface.
Baron Rollin's reaction to the reception of the painting during those exhibitions was understandably equivocal, because on the one hand it was being taken seriously for the first time in a generation. It was actually out there in front of the scholars being discussed and taken seriously. On the other hand, there was some quite public, vocal criticism of the picture.
When the painting was coming to London for the exhibition in London, the Baron was getting rather ill, and it was at that point that he was very eager to know what scholars were thinking about the painting. And it's unfortunate that he died before most of the scholars changed their minds. Although he died before the final acceptance of it, I think he could see the way things were going. It was felt that there was only one other thing that might convince the remaining scholars who were doubtful about the painting that it was by Vermeer, and that was to clean the painting so that people could see it as it should have been seen.
They asked me, what do you think of this painting? Are you able to restore it? And I remember that moment very well, because I realized almost immediately that it very well might be a Vermeer indeed. I'm Martin Bijl, I'm a painting restorer, and I did the restoration work on the Baron Rollin Vermeer painting. Painting enters the studio, I always put it on the easel and have a look at it. I'm a lover of paintings, and I first look at the painting. What do I think of it? How does it look like? I'm not the kind of restorer that immediately looks at the condition. That spoils the pleasure of paintings for me. There is a fixed following order in restoration. So first you always have to take care, if there is a danger for losing paint, for example, you fix the paint. Then you do other technical things on the canvas or the panel. And then you start working on the varnish, if that has to be taken off.
We felt that the most responsible and effective way to conduct this cleaning and restoration would be to assemble a committee of leading scholars, art historians and conservators to oversee this process.
The first meeting we discussed taking off everything that didn't belong on it, varnish and overpaintings, etc. Shadowed areas with darkened and browned varnish had not been cleaned either, and we expected a lot from it.
Gradually, under the supervision of the committee, Martin Beil removed the remains of the old dirty varnish and the old restorations and retouches to expose, as closely as he could tell, all that was left of the original paint layers, which were pretty complete.
The second meeting we used for discussing why doesn't this look like a Vermeer. The main reason was that there was a total lack of depth, and the space in which the figures of Vermeer is always a kind of vibrating with the figures. It was just not there, because these little dark spots were only very tiny dots, but spread all over the background, connecting the colors that are on both sides of the black dot. That's everything you do. And what happens then is kind of magic, because you see all of a sudden that Vermeer originally painted damages in the white plaster. He painted humidity damage. And it all comes out just by following what the painter tells you. It's so easy, and it has such a lot of effect.
And yet, the way that wall in particular fell into place once he was finished was quite staggering. Suddenly, the light was there again. The light that fell gently from the top left corner of the picture down across the wall with its little irregularities in the plaster which Vermeer had carefully painted there, the cracks in the plaster and the holes, which he put there in order to allow the viewer to have a sense of where the wall actually was. The light comes down, reflects off the skirt, which had always been in quite good condition, into the instrument, where suddenly, after the cleaning, a wonderful pattern of reflections and highlights had emerged, and back again. So the whole complex interplay of this delicate light re-emerged in this extraordinary way.